Good morning, everyone. Welcome on this Monday before Thanksgiving. That's right. Can you believe the year has gone away this quickly? Wow. Welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. And I was reading a tweet by Lenny, and he was talking about what our network offers. And, I'm going to just kudos to Lenny here for a second because he is the most prepared person for a podcast I have ever listened to. And I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. I mean, he has notes upon notes upon notes. And you're talking about a passion for a pod. He has got a passion to share that knowledge with all of us that is just indescribable. So, what are you thankful for as we talk about it this week? First of all, I'm thankful for my friends, my family, and Lenny Melnick is one of those for sure. And I hope everybody's having a great November 23rd on this Monday. Thursday is coming. It won't be long. I will not have a show on Thursday. I'm just letting you know that now. And tomorrow is up in the air because I am trying to get some work finished before the holidays. And tomorrow is going to be, I believe, quite the day. So let's enjoy the moment, shall we? And let's talk about the NFL yesterday. I mean, yeah, it was a great day in the NFL, Week 11. And they're already now talking about playoff teams and where people are seated. And so it's getting to be that time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's what Andy Williams told me. And if you're a football fan, that's certainly true. The thing I love about this time of year, I really do, is going from now until through January. And I know winter's upon us, and I know COVID concerns are running rampant again, but we can take a moment, if you will, to escape to the world of sports and fantasy sports. And here we have the NFL and the playoffs, and we've got college basketball. That's right, we're going to talk some college hoops, probably some next week, because my Tar Heels, ranked 15th preseason, they tip off the 2021 college basketball season Wednesday night, the day before Thanksgiving. That's right. So not just the Tar Heels, the Blue Devils play, the Wolfpack plays, all the local teams. So that means nationwide basketball is starting up. And then, of course, as Lenny's talking about, baseball never goes away. And I'm just giving baseball a hiatus until probably the first of the year. I'll come back strong with some baseball, I promise you. I'll come back with prospects and all of that, some deep dive, You've heard me before. That's nothing new. But during these couple months, I'm going to try to focus on football and college basketball. In the NBA, they start back up, I believe, around Christmas. So, seems like they just finished, right? But anyway, that's the way it goes with our scheduling of things. So, yesterday, what's your game of the day? And if you're in the chat room, let me tell you, thank you for being with me this morning. I'm going to give it a look. I want to always try to check on my chat room friends. That's where it all started. And if you're watching on StreamYard or on Facebook, that's great. But that's not the original audience, guys. The original audience, we started about, probably done 200 or 300 shows by now. We started last April. And the chat room has always been a great group of guys, ladies, knowledgeable about the world of sports, particularly baseball and the major sports. But here we go. Let me look. We got 9 people in the chat room this morning. We got Andrea Clarona Cyclonus. Good morning. George. Good morning. Lenny. Good morning. Mitch Hartson, Rotorius, Taco, and Timothy Hooker. How about a call out to my chat room this morning? And I really appreciate you guys being with me. If you'd like to send me a text question, hey, I'm game if you are. And if you're watching on Facebook, on StreamYard, and you got questions, bring them on. Let's talk, because that's what this is about. This is about trying to know what your questions are and how I can help you with those. So here we go. Yesterday, lots of NFL. We're going to take our time. We're not going to buzzsaw you through the NFL yesterday. We're going to sort of take our time and go through it in a methodical coverage kind of way. How about that? So let's start with some of the early games, if we can. And let's talk about some scores and some players and how that fantasy-wise may affect things. First of all, there is a game tonight, the Rams and Buccaneers. That ought to be a good one. And I'll tell you what, the primetime games this week, Thursday night was a great primetime game. You had the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Now, I think both teams offensively underperformed, but it was a really highly contested game, a great game to watch. Two teams vying for playoff spots. Last night you had the Raiders and the Chiefs. What a game. I don't know if you watched it. It was on late. Back and forth. The Raiders scored with probably about a minute and a half to go in the game, maybe a minute 40 to make it 31-28, but it was about a minute. They should have kept the ball another minute, okay, because the Chiefs score with 25 seconds left. They win 35-31, solidifying their hold on first place in the AFC West, much to my chagrin, but hey, that's the way it goes. The Raiders are still in position for playoff, and they were talking last night, Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, about how the Chiefs' schedule is progressively difficult going forward, and the Raiders is progressively easier going forward. We shall see. But Thursday night, we had the Seahawks beating the Cardinals. The Seahawks are now 10-1 on Thursday nights since 2010. The Seahawks won 28-23. Not a great game for the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, who typically are stat hounds, did not really put up the numbers on Thursday night. I don't know if that had a lot to do with coming back off short rest, but it was a great game nonetheless. And if you were to look at the stats, and I'm sure you have if you're a fan, Murray only threw for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. He only rushed for 15 yards, and that is just not Kyler Murray at all. But it was Thursday night. And then for the Seahawks, Russell Wilson went 23 of 28 for 197 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He had 42 yards rushing and receiving. Lockett had 67 yards on 9 catches, and Metcalf 3 catches for 46 yards. So you see what I'm getting at. Not a stat groovy kind of game, but a good game nonetheless to watch. Now let's get to our games yesterday, where the Browns beat the Eagles 22-17. And in that game in Cleveland, rain, it was nasty. Play was kind of sloppy because of the weather. The Browns improved to 7-3. The Eagles fell to 3-6-1. The thing about the Eagles, and I'll just jump ahead, every team this morning in the NFC East, that being the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, all have, excuse me for my nose is itching, so must be talking about me, all have 3 wins. Every one of them. Now, what does that mean? It means it's a lackluster division, that's for sure, but it means also everyone is capable of winning that division. And even though the records aren't good, the play going down the stretch should be exciting because the level of competition should be similar, and they're all fighting for that one playoff spot. There will be 4 teams fighting for one spot. There will be no wild card from the NFC East this year. So yesterday, stat-wise for Cleveland, let's look at the Brownies first. Baker Mayfield, efficient. They don't like him throwing the ball a lot. So if you are a fantasy player and you're looking to pick up a tight end or a wide receiver, I would not go the way of Cleveland just because they don't throw enough. He threw 22 passes yesterday, 12 completions, 204 yards. Nick Chubb's a machine, 20 rushes for 114. Now, passing-wise, receiving, there were 3 players with 3 catches. Hodge with 3, Rashard Higgins with 3, and Austin Hooper with 3. But again, there's 9 catches out of 12 for the Eagles yesterday. how many of you guys are disappointed with Carson Wentz? Do you have Carson Wentz on any of your fantasy teams? He goes 21 for 35 with 2 touchdowns, but it's the turnovers that are killing Wentz. He had 2 turnovers yesterday, 2 interceptions. Miles Sanders rushed 16 times for 66 yards. And receiving-wise, Dallas Goedert had 5 catches for 77, and rookie Jalen Reagor 4 for 52. Now, there was a lot of hype a few weeks ago about Travis Fulgham. Do you remember all the hype? 1 catch Sunday against Cleveland, 8 yards. Not exactly who I want in my fantasy lineup. Another 1 o'clock game yesterday, Baltimore and Tennessee. This was a great one. This really was. The Titans win 30-24. The Titans are now 7-3. The Ravens are 6-4. And if the season ended today, the Ravens would be on the outside looking in at the playoff race. They're out as of today. And this coming week, they've got a big game. We'll talk about it a little later. They've got a big game coming up this week. But they're 6-4 now, and it looked like yesterday Tennessee just wore them down. It was a beatdown. Ryan Tannehill went 22 of 31 with 259 yards. But the big play yesterday for Tennessee, once again, Derrick Henry, 28 rushes. 28 rushes. That's a lot. 133 rushing yards and a touchdown in overtime. He was running left. He cut back right, took it in from about 20 yards out to end the game. And it just looked like Baltimore was a tired team. And so I don't know how you can get over that. Baltimore is a physical team, but the physicality, it looks like, may take its toll. Lamar Jackson, only 17 of 29 passing, 186. Dobbins led him in rushing. J.K. Dobbins, 15 rushes, 70 yards, and a touchdown. It looks like, finally, J.K. Dobbins has emerged as the workhorse out of that Ravens backfield. But the Tennessee Titans win yesterday 30-24. Now, in Washington, our nation's capital, the football team, they win over the Bengals yesterday 20-9 to go to 3-7. The Bengals fall to 2-7-1, but the big news here yesterday is not so much the score, not so much the stats, as it is Joe Burrow's health. Joe Burrow tackled on a play. He's the rookie quarterback, the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2020 draft. And Joe Burrow yesterday injured his ankle, and he is now out for the remainder of the 2020 season. Before doing that, he went 22 of 34 with 203 yards and a touchdown. Look, what killed Cincinnati yesterday? This Washington defense is really good. If you're a Washington football team fan, then you can talk about a lot of things, but your defense, and particularly the Washington defensive front, is really strong. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals had 5 different ball carriers yesterday, rushing yards total 70. So Washington held Cincinnati at 70 yards yesterday rushing for the entire game. Pirine went 5 for 19. Giovanni Bernard, my former Tar Heel, 9 for 18. That's horrible. Ryan Finley came in at quarterback for Burrow. He had he led the team in rushing yards, 1 rush for 19 yards. When your backup quarterback, who comes in the second half, leads your team in rushing, it's not a good day. Okay, it's not a good day, and it wasn't a good day for Cincinnati. As I said earlier, every team in the NFC East now has 3 wins. I was watching the Falcons-Saint game yesterday, and I guess you all knew Drew Brees is out for at least 3 weeks. He was placed on the IR, and being placed on the IR in the NFL means you're going to lose 3 weeks of play. So yesterday, the Bengals, they start their, I guess you'd call it the backup quarterback, Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill passes 18 completions out of 23 attempts for 233 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but it was what he did rushing the ball. 10 rushes, 51 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns